Well, I would say that what defines Avian to me has kind of morphed and changed over the years that I've been doing it. To start off with, it was purely a vehicle for my own productions, really. I wanted full control over when I put something out, like what it looks like, the track selection. Early on in my techno career, I'd worked predominantly with other labels, and not that I didn't enjoy the process at all, because I really did, but there's always a bit of give and take and some compromise to be done. So at some point you don't really want to compromise anymore, and you feel like really taking the reins over your own thing, and so really the decision to start Avian was born out of that. Since then, it's kind of morphed. What Avian is to me today, more than anything else, what defines it, I would say it's one of the last remaining experimental techno labels. I'm not interested in fads. I'm not interested in hype. I'm not interested in signing artists simply because they're getting a lot of attention at one point. I'd much rather sign someone that no one has fucking heard of, because it should be a reflection of my own tastes. It should be an individual thing. When we all start copying each other, when I look at a label and I see that they've had a successful release with a particular artist, and I start thinking to myself, well, maybe I should sign that person so I can sell a few more records, it stops becoming my own thing. It just becomes a vehicle to try and get myself or the label attention. It should be about personal choice, personal tastes, and just really a reflection of who you are as an artist. I mean, I'm someone, I guess I've got quite a strong sense of visual identity, at least, whatever that means. I'm not a visual person creatively, which means that I've always worked with other artists. Sometimes it will be a case where I really know what I want, and I will go to my designer with an image, and I will sit with them and kind of direct what they do. Other times I'll give my designer complete free rein to do whatever they like. It really depends on the project, whether or not I've got inspiration for a particular record visually and there's something that I want to put across with that. But in general, it is the hardest part of running the label. I don't find it particularly hard to sign new music. When I hear something, usually within the first few seconds, I know if it's an Avian record or not. If I find myself having to persuade myself into the decision, then usually I know that I should not put that record out. There has been times when I have not listened to my own internal voice, and those would certainly be the releases that I will probably scrub from Discogs if I could. But mistakes happen, and it's just part of the journey that you make along the way. Well, this is becoming harder and harder, obviously. As things get more saturated, it becomes harder and harder to be an individual voice. You have to think more, you have to be aware of what you are and what you stand for more, otherwise you'll end up just getting drifted off course, essentially. In terms of promoting stuff, like, a lot of people are using PR agencies, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, Avian itself will use PR agencies for some campaigns. But that's not the be all and end all of it. I mean, if you are driven, and if you have a strong aesthetic, and if you are, pragmatic about how you display that identity in terms of your visual content, the stuff that you post on social media, the artists that you use, it all ties into this sense of what the label is. All these little things, PR, artwork, they all affect each other. So it's really just a case of deciding what you want the label to be about and trying to push that in a way that doesn't feel invasive or like you're spamming people, basically. you need to kind of work out who your audience is, like what they're into, the things that make them tick, like how that aligns with your own tastes, and just come up with, you know, a balance of getting the information out there and making sure that people know about what you're doing, but also not just like fucking spamming people with bullshit, because no one wants that at the end of the day. I think it definitely took us maybe 3 or 4 years to kind of find our feet, and for me to really work out what the label was, and you know, how I wanted it to differentiate itself from everything else that was out there at the time. But maybe in around 2015, 2016, everything sort of came together. Maybe around the time of the Kellner release, the Scan Alessandro Cortini release. This is when I decided, I was like, I want this. It's not just a techno label. It's about the things that are on the periphery of techno. I'm not really interested in putting out like club bangers anymore. Every now and then I'll hear one and I'm like, this is just dripping with personality, and I feel like there's still a place for this record. But I don't just want to put out a record for some DJ to play for a few weeks and then replace with something that sounds a little bit like it. Also, that's not interesting to me. I would like, really, in 10, 20 years, people to pull out an Avian record from the bins at a record store and be like, you know what, this was a fucking great record. This stands the test of time, basically. And this is what I'm always thinking. I'm always like, will this record still hold up in 10 years? Or is it just going to be some throwaway stuff for some DJ to play a bit? It's not really that I sort of consider factors so much as I just know when I hear it, usually immediately. Usually I'll get sent something and I'll just be like, click, that is an Avian record. And it's very obvious the other way as well. Even if it's producers that I'm like really into as a DJ, people that I respect a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to put out one of their records. And it's not saying anything negative on them at all. It's just, I'm quite particular about maintaining the ethos of the label, basically. And I've made mistakes with that in the past and veered off in directions that I perhaps shouldn't have done due to my frame of mind at that period of time, or just whatever, basically. But it's really just this feeling that I get when I hear it. I just know or don't, essentially. And like I said, if I have to persuade myself at all, then essentially it's never gonna make me happy, the release. In terms of like signing new artists and getting demos through, I have to admit, like, most of the stuff that I've signed have been through connections that I already had, be it a friend of a friend or someone that I was actually close with to start off with. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say that I won't sign an artist that sends a demo. We have up on our Instagram and our Facebook that we don't accept demos, and in general that is true, but every now and then I will get sent something and I will look at the email and I'll be like, I should listen to this. I can't even really say why. Some emails will make me think that, and some emails will just make me hit delete immediately. It's a hard thing to say, but sometimes I just get a vibe off someone, basically, and think this is worth listening to. I should check this out. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. Well, I've got to say, it's become a lot more difficult from when I first started sending out demos, and I did send out demos same as everyone else did. We are so much more saturated now, and that's part of the problem. There are literally 1,000 times more techno artists than there were in 2009 or 2010 when I first started sending out shifted demos. Sometimes it's personal connections, like I mentioned before. To do it in a non-invasive way, first of all, never say, I think this record might be right for your label, or this record fits your label, because that's not your decision to make, and that will annoy people as soon as they fucking read it. Secondly, just be fucking cool. Don't like list, you know, all the equipment that you've used or what you've fucking done in the past, etc, etc. Just approach people in a normal way, you know, hey, how you doing? I'd like to send this music. Maybe mention some of the other releases on the label that you feel an affinity with, but don't like, you know, make it all about you and how, you know, you're going to be the new star of the label or whatever. Just be fucking normal and not a dick, and hopefully people will respond to you. Sometimes it takes longer than you'd like it to. You know, I have sent stuff before to labels that I was obsessed with, not for some time actually, and I didn't receive anything back for 6 months, and then I got an email back saying, let's do a record, and totally out of the fucking blue. So don't get pissed off. Don't wait a week and then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to send up a follow-up email and then another follow-up email. If they listened to it and they liked it, they will get back to you. It's as simple as that. Honestly, it is extremely difficult, and it's becoming more so with each year that goes past. Particularly during the pandemic, I think a lot of DJs and producers like myself were probably investing quite a lot of their like DJ fees back into their labels, and now this isn't an option. You have to be a lot more picky about what you put out. You have to hammer things home. You have to make sure that people know about your records. You have to make sure that you are selling records directly as well, not just through your distributor. You need to make sure that you're selling stuff through Bandcamp. You're going to stores yourself to drop off records, because direct money into your PayPal, into your pocket, is going to keep things moving, essentially. What I try and do personally these days is just look at it completely separately. I look at the label's finances and my own not as the same thing. So like, you know, one record will make a loss, the next one will make a profit, and you just have to balance this out, essentially. You're going to end up sitting on stock of some things, sometimes for years. Sometimes you will never get rid of it. It will need to be fucking burnt by the distributor or whatever, and that shit happens. Even to the best labels out there, it's just part of the process. You will make mistakes, but it's worth it, and it's necessary. It's necessary for the culture to push forward. It's necessary for us to have new artists coming out with fresh takes on things, and a label isn't just the sum of its parts. It's everything that surrounds it. It's the energy that the artist put into it. It's the energy that the label owner puts into it. It's the artwork. It's everything. It's all of these things, and I think it still today it feels more like an artistic job than something that's concerned with finance, really. Certainly at this level. I'm sure if you went and talked to the guys that run fucking, I don't know, Afterlife or whatever, they would say very different things. From my perspective, sometimes I will sell 100 units of something, but if it's a record that I believe in, the loss is worthwhile. It's as simple as that. Consistency. The labels that I respect the most have stuck by their guns from the very beginning, and even if it morphs and changes directions, it never feels like you're being conned. It feels like it still stands for something, and I think that's incredibly important. Don't jump on trends because they fucking pass. It should be about being an individual platform and something that defines who you are as an artist, and it will feed back into everything else that you do. That's an important point to make. Like, I think Avian's probably one of the main reasons why people find me interesting as an artist. If they still do, who knows? But it's important to realise that. It's important to realise that everything that you do on the label reflects back onto yourself. So just stick to your guns. Don't veer off. Don't freak out because all of a sudden people aren't particularly interested in the sound that you're most known for. Stick by your guns. Morph, mutate, but don't just jump on trends, basically. That's the most important thing.